This morning, I want to talk about what I care about. And I might range a little bit far and wide on it because there's a lot that I care about. But it all centers down to one thing simply, and that is the title of the talk, that what I'm involved in deeply is that very place where I will see myself evolve. And this is a spiritual principle that is taught by Dr. Ernest Holmes, one of my more significant teachers, not my most, but my more significant teachers, who talked very much about this idea that evolution itself is an effect. We tend to think of evolution as the thing that is making stuff happen. And it certainly is making stuff happen. But it is itself a process that is born of a cause somewhere else. The interesting thing about cause and effect, and we know now, of course, that with new science, the lockstep of what we always believed that cause and effect was, cause leads to effect. We now know that that's quite a bit more fluid than we originally thought. A famous quote from Einstein says, "Are you one of those people who believe that there's one or who believes that there's two?" If you're the one that believes that there's two, then you're the one. We have seen science, subatomic physics in particular, blast apart all of our understanding of how the world actually works. And so cause and effect is part of that shift that has taken place. But here's what we know. And this to me is amazing. I remember the day that I had an acorn. And I was looking at this little tiny acorn. And my teacher said to me, "You know that the entire oak tree is in that acorn. Everything that tree will become is in that acorn at this moment." And not only that, successive generations of trees with acorns are within that acorn. And this is what Ernest Holmes was talking about when he talked about this idea that there is something involved in our evolution that comes before the entire process of evolving itself. All of our self, all of our good, all of our blessing, all of what we are called to be is present in the cause. And so we see that cause and effect are bound up. They are not this on one side and this on the other, but they are one thing. All of what we are to become is there at the very beginning of our becoming. I'll begin with how I woke up this morning. I have dreams, and you've heard me mention this before, that have absolutely no imagery, but just people talking. And I wake up remembering what they're saying and not actually knowing where it's coming from. And so I woke up this morning with the words of the prophet Jeremiah in my head. And the words are these: "The fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the teeth of the children have been set on edge." Jeremiah 31:24. So I had to look it up because I had no idea what that meant. And it was an Old Testament idea that the sins of the fathers, and I'm glad they said fathers, not the sins of the mothers. The sins of the fathers are visited on the children to the fourth generation. And Jeremiah came along at a very significant time in our history, at a time that's called the Axial Age. And most people are not very familiar with this, but think of this. About 500 BC, Socrates, the Buddha, and the prophets of the Old Testament all showed up in about a space of 100 years. People who changed how we look at the world. Certainly there were pre-Socratic philosophers, but Socrates brought something new. Certainly there was a rich Hindu tradition in India that had been there for thousands of years, but Buddha brought something new. And there was that upstart religion at the time, Judaism, which was maybe 2,000 years old, that saw the prophets of the Old Testament, of them, one of them, Jeremiah. And again, this ushered in a whole new understanding of what we were to do with our lives. And here's what Jeremiah goes on to say in 31:33. I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. And I will be their God, and they will be my people. And so for generations now, we've preached this thing of, well, it was a new covenant. It was a projection of the arrival of Jesus on the planet with his teaching that was going to transform us. And so we've made a lot of the Jesus figure and the covenant. But what we have not made enough of, in my mind, is the idea that something came before that we are using as the excuse for what we are. And I'm going to say that one more time. The sour grapes of the Father make the children's teeth go on edge. What that says basically is, what I'm experiencing now is his fault. What's going on in the world now is their fault. What I'm experiencing in my life right now is my parents' fault. What is going on in Israel and Palestine right now is the British fault, the Jews' fault, the Palestinians' fault, Hamas's fault, Zionists' fault. What's going on in Canada is the colonials' fault. But Jeremiah came along to say this: if you're going to evolve, you must take responsibility for where you are. If you are going to evolve, you must get involved with who you are and where you are right now, and that's where the change will come from. So, here we go. I'm going to tell a story on myself. Earlier this week, I was going to get together with my partner for dinner and spend the evening, and he did something that upset me. I can't quite remember what it was. But the bottom line was, I was upset. And so I went off on my own to what I like to call rehearse and nurse. I went away thinking, okay, well, I know he's going to call me. And when he does, I'm just going to say, oh, I'm not coming over tonight. I'm too busy, or I'm not feeling good, or some sort of thing. And so I rehearsed that, and I got quite good at it. I had quite a good speech that I was going to give. But I was also nursing my resentment. That's why I call it rehearsing and nursing. I was rehearsing what I was going to say, and at the same time I was nursing how resentful I was that he had not lived up to my expectations. And by the way, if you invite me to come back again, I will talk to you about the difference between expectations and expectancy, but that's a whole other talk. But the bottom line was, towards the end of the day, about the time that I was expecting he would call, I began reflecting on this a little bit more. And this little voice in me said, well, you can continue thinking this way and saying those things. That's what your mother would have done. Or you can rise to the occasion and talk about what's really going on for you. The great thing about being in a relationship with anyone, including people on the other side of the planet, and make no mistake, we are in relationship with all of these people. The great thing about it is that they challenge us. This whole business of being triggered has become such a, ooh, you triggered me. I'm at a point now where I'm saying, you triggered me. I get to look at this. I get to experience this in myself. As I was saying to Janet earlier, it's much more useful for me to look at where I am than look at how you put me here. Right? Taking responsibility for who we are. When my partner phoned later in the day, I told him exactly how I was feeling and how I'd spent my day. And it was a tender moment. It was a moment of vulnerability on both our parts. And I got to look at the fact that when somebody else is vulnerable, I just find that so courageous. And when I am vulnerable, I sit in judgment of myself because I'm weak. There's a lot to be learned by letting this voice within us, the one we're listening to, help us to evolve. James Baldwin, in a very famous speech, said, we're in trouble. And he was talking about, of course, the civil rights movement at the time. And he said, we're in trouble. Walk around the streets and look at what you see. And look into the eyes of those you meet. And you'll see what kind of trouble we're in. And then realize that they are you. Then realize that they are you. What is happening on the other side of the planet right now? That's us. We are in pain. We are struggling. We are lost. We are caught up in ideologies and tribal affiliations. Ken Wilber recently said in a podcast that I watched, he said, there's a difference between being grown up and being awake. And those of you who have children, you remember, they may have been awake, but they sure weren't grown up. And so this awakeness can exist at any time in our spiritual growth. But are we grown up enough in that spiritual path? Or are we lagging in our grown-upness, in our growing up, even though we have had a deep experience of God, a deep experience of the mystical? I'm teaching a class right now, excuse me, at CSL White Rock on Lectio Divina. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a spiritual practice that monks are involved in. It dates from about 300 AD. And it's about what my meditation was about today. Tuning into the words and letting them foster a relationship in you. Last time I was here, I spoke about mysticism about evil and mysticism. And I got into a little bit of trouble. One person grabbed me at the thing and said, "Wow, that was a really brave talk." I was a little bit taken aback. I didn't think it was brave. I just thought it was something worth saying. But then I got cornered downstairs and I saw how brave it was because people kind of challenged me on a few things. And the other night in my class, someone also challenged me. And I want to bring this to your attention as we're facing these struggles in the world that we are all a part of. One of the most illuminating things which mysticism has revealed is that evil is not the ultimate reality. It is simply an experience of the individual soul on its way toward reality. Evil is not an entity, but an experience on the pathway of self-unfoldment. It is not a thing in itself, but simply a misuse of one's power. It will disappear when we stop looking at or indulging in it. Evil will disappear when we stop looking at it or indulging in it. We cannot stop believing in it as long as we indulge in it. So the mystic has always taught the race to turn from evil and do good. I bring you back to my experience with my partner. Turn from evil. It was a tiny evil, I guess, but it was nonetheless wrong-headed, unloving, ungenerous. Turning from that to do good, to express who I am and who I am becoming, is what the mystics were telling us to do. There are those who believe that we are in the end of days. Without getting too pointed on this, if it is the end of days and the rapture is coming, then all of those who believe in the rapture, I hope they rise up and go their way, because they're no help to what's going on right now. We are in the end of days. I believe that firmly. Do you know that the belief in Armageddon? There is a field in Israel. It's fairly close to the, not the Gaza, but the other one, I forget what it's called. The West Bank, thank you. It's quite close to there, and the field is called Megiddo, the field of Megiddo. And Revelation says that the final battle between good and evil will be fought at the field of Megiddo. And that's why it's called the Armageddon. A lot of fighting going on pretty close to the field of Megiddo, I'd say, right now. So we are at the end of days. But not the end of days as everything will be ended, but the end of days as in, the way we have thought, the way we have acted, the way we have believed, the way we have maintained our life. Those days are over. And if you have any doubt that they're over, look at what's going on in the world. Our old ways of being no longer serve us. The old rules of engagement no longer work. The way we are programmed to go through life, those programs are looking pretty threadbare. And yet, at the same time, we're being called to a higher level of evolution. There is a slide which I would like to share with you. It's a lot of words, but I want to share them with you. They come from a Broadway musical some of you may have heard of, may recall. It's The Fantastics. It was an off-Broadway, to be perfectly honest, but a really remarkable show and some very interesting truths in it. And I want to share this with you. You can follow it if you want, or you can just listen to me. I like to declaim. But here it is. There is a curious paradox that no one can explain. Who understands the secret of the reaping of the grain? Who understands why spring is born out of winter's laboring pain? Or why we must all die a bit before we grow again? I do not know the answer. I merely know it's true. I hurt them for that reason, and myself a little bit too. The great teacher Jesus said, unless the grain of wheat falls and dies, it remains alone. But if it should fall, it will rise up 100-fold. And I'm going to expand on that 1,000-fold, 10,000-fold, 7 billion-fold. We are all called in our evolutionary process to die to who we have been so that we can rise up to who we are called to be. Each and every one of us, each and every one of you are called to greatness. And the greatness will show up in the most significant way for you. Because God has put the law of evolution in your mind.
Open your eyes and see me, lay down your troubled years and shame. No reason left to fear me, just hear me, call me by my name. Reveal your most colorful facade, your spirit's dreaming and connecting to the stars on the journey to your God. The winds of change are blowing and hope is riding on the crest. You're not sure where you're going, but life will take you where it's best. Your jeweled crown waits at the temple's door. The heavenly angels are offering you more on the journey to your God. Your light is on, take the message. Green fields roll and the rivers rush to the sea. The danger's gone, take the message. Sunlight melts the last of the winter's freeze. Your light is on, accept the message. You have asked for it to come, and it's yours for the taking, and the taking has begun. The tears outside your window are tears that you have cried before. I At times you've been a stranger, just standing waiting at the door. Embrace this pain that's keeping you at bay. The love you gain is yours to guide the way on the journey to your God. Your light is on, take the message. Green fields roll and the rivers rush to the sea. The danger's gone, take the message. Sunlight melts the last of the winter's freeze. Your light is on, accept the message. You have asked for it to come, and it's yours for the taking, and the taking has begun. Your light is on, take the message. Green fields roll and the rivers rush to the sea. The danger's gone, take the message. Sunlight melts the last of the winter's freeze. Your light is on, take the message. Green fields roll and the rivers rush to the sea. The danger's gone, take the message.
Insightful talk. And let's hear it one more time for an incredibly talented Beverly Elliott and Bill Costin. We now come to the time in our gathering where we demonstrate in faith, in spirit, through our freely given offerings, love offerings. So let us get still for a moment and give thanks for the source for the many blessings in our lives. Thanks for our health. Thanks for the people in our lives. And thank you for the many blessings we enjoy in peace every day. May those blessings spread and be enjoyed by all people everywhere. And so now our love offering statement, all together now. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. And if you are here in person, you can drop off your donation with the ushers as you exit the sanctuary. And to donate online, simply click on the donate link in your chat window, which will allow you to give via all credit cards and all major credit cards. And you can also give via e-transfer if you want to, and you can be addressed to donations@unityofvancouver.org. Once again, if you're on Zoom or YouTube, you will find a donate link in your chat window. And now, while we're making our donations, let's enjoy a few minutes of beautiful music. Thank you. So this Monday, tomorrow at 7:30, please join us for the Metaphysical Coffee House. It is going to be a wonderful evening of music, poetry, and lots of laughter. Featured artists include Tom and Georgina Arntzen, Nathan Aswell, Beverly Elliott, Chris Nolan, Neil Thompson, Stacey Collins, and more. Now, Marilyn, are you going to be there? Yes. So stand up. She is amazing, and Marilyn will definitely be adding so much to that evening. Indulge at the potluck dessert bar that we're going to have and enjoy a decaf or herbal tea. And of course, please bring your favorite dessert or savory snack to share. And on Friday, October 27th, this coming Friday at 7:30, get ready for a heartwarming evening of music and kindness as we present the Mr. Rogers Suite with the Impressions Big Band and guest vocalist Jennifer Scott. Now, some people think that it's a children's show because it's Mr. Rogers, but you know what? We all have a kid inside of us, and this is surely to be an incredible evening. Randy, I'm calling you on the spot here, but could you come up for a minute and just tell us a little bit about this band? Okay. 18-piece band. Thank you. Yes. She is. Yeah. Jennifer Scott is an internationally known jazz vocalist, so it's going to be an amazing show. So just wanted to say a few words. Yes, he was a press. So once again, thank you, Greg. Once again, this Friday, October 27th, so mark the calendars. And by the way, this will be the perfect event to bring your friends to, as will the coffee house. So what a great week we have, and it's awesome. And on Thursday, November 2nd at 7:30 p.m., all you're gonna need is love, because it's Beatles night. Woo! Beatles night at Unity. Beatles Night is an incredible evening led by Tom Arntzen, Nathan Aswell, and their amazing tribute band, Ticket to Ride. This is one of our most highly rated annual events, and don't miss it because it is fantastic. What a perfect event, again, to bring your friends to. So we want to thank everybody in advance for doing that. And this Tuesday evening at 6:30, why not check out a 12 Powers class with Reverend Sandra Campbell. This class is super convenient and beneficial because it's offered online at Zoom and will help you to develop your own spiritual powers. Sandra Campbell is an extraordinary teacher, and we hope you'll join us. And our next Ceremony Circle program celebrates our ancestors. October 31st is Halloween, November 1st is the Day of the Dead, and both are ancient observances of the ancestors. So join Fern and Ruth in a ceremony to honor your ancestors on Monday, October the 30th at 7 p.m. in the lower hall. Please register before so that we can accommodate and know how many will be joining the circle. And you can go to our website, unityofvancouver.org. And the fee for that program is $20. And of course, our Course in Miracles study groups meet on Tuesdays from 12:30 to 2:30, and that is in person right here at Unity. And if you have we have an online meeting as well, Thursday evenings from 7 till 9, and that's on Zoom. So check out a meeting. So today's affirmative prayer chaplains are Carol Roman, Marilyn Norrie, Raymond Lancaster, and Len Satov on Zoom. Can I have you stand, prayer chaplains, please? Thank you. They will actually be and do confidential prayer with you, and simply come up to the front after the music has finished, and they will be in the front row. And until then, we would love to support you in prayer. And if you're watching on Zoom or YouTube, I'll show you how to do that in just a few minutes.